Welcome back for another video. 4 game weeks to go, not long left now, and the pressure's on to make the right transfers. So we're going to break it all down nice and simple by position. Who are the best players to buy for Game Week 35 and the run-in? Double Game Week 36 is confirmed, and now it's a question of who doubles there. There's 2 ways that the Premier League will go about it. The reason it's confirmed, by the way, is because Man City have reached the FA Cup final, and that clashes with Game Week 37. So Man City's game against Bournemouth has to move. And there's only 2 available midweeks left at sufficient notice, and those are midweek in 36 or midweek in 37. So that's the Bournemouth versus Man City game that needs moving. But there's also that Man City versus Palace postponement, isn't there, from ages ago? That also needs moving or scheduling in again. So those 2 games will go in those 2 midweeks. The likeliest outcome, and this might even have been announced by the time you watch this, is Crystal Palace and Man City doubling in Game Week 36, and the Premier League just moved the Bournemouth game back a few days later, so it remains in Game Week 37. The other combination, a little bit more chaos, a bit more complicated, but it is possible as well, where they bring the Bournemouth versus Man City game back into Game Week 36, and the Palace postponement goes into 37. So that would create a double Game Week 36 of Bournemouth and Man City, and a double Game Week 37 for Palace, and also a blank Game Week 37 for Bournemouth. Announcement is expected to come this week. It's just worth a mention off the back of the video because naturally it might affect your transfer plans later, or maybe your wildcard. And the last thing to mention is currently Chelsea and Spurs have also got that postponement, given that Chelsea play in the final. That one's slightly different because Spurs play on Monday in Game Week 36. So that means we can't really expect that fixture to move midweek in 36 because there's not enough gap in between the games. So we expect that to remain in 37 and move to midweek there. So let's get into it. And goalkeepers first quickly. There's a few strong fixtures with clean sheet potential this week. Arsenal have got Fulham home, Leeds have got Burnley home, and Man City have got Everton away. And you could probably include Sunderland with Wolves away as well. So yeah, the top 4 this week is Raya, Darley, Donnarumma and Roofs. Each passing week, that final column on the tables here is going to reduce. So it was the next 5 all season. Now we're looking at the next 4 game week projections and so on. And you'll notice, look at Donnarumma, the next 4 is miles ahead of the rest, and that is because of that Man City double game week to come. They've got an extra game in there. Though, lots of us, of course, are tripled up on City already. If you're wildcarding this week, we'll do some in-depth analysis on the Game Week 35 wildcard team on the Experts video later this week. Like, what's the best team for the final 4 game weeks? It's probably preferable to have 3 outfield City players for their upside, rather than Donnarumma and 2. Henderson not on the table here, but he would be included in my wildcard for the bench this week with a view to using him in Palace's upcoming double game week. If you wildcarded back in Game Week 32 and you've got Darley, then he's perfect to play this week. You don't need to make a swap to someone like a Raya this week. Gabriel, however, is worth a look, so let's have a look at defenders. It is Gabriel top of all defenders for Game Week 35. He's on 5.1 projected points, home to Fulham. And then it's Goodmanson, Senesi, Struijk, Bogle, O'Reilly, Saliba and Alderete. So O'Reilly top in the league among defenders for the final 4 game week projections, and that's because of that upcoming double game week. But if you're on triple City, you're probably not on triple Arsenal, and Gabriel is the one player that I'm considering a transfer on this week in defence, having gone without him on the wildcard a few weeks ago. I feel like he's the one player that could be worth spending a transfer on at the back. However, the fixtures do line up really nicely, so it's not a pressing move. If you've got, say, a Leeds defender or 2, and maybe you've got Senesi or Hill, plus you've got O'Reilly, they're just so great to play this week that it's not a pressing move to buy Gabriel, and it can be delayed a week. And bank yourself an extra transfer as well, and really ensure that you're flexible heading into double game week 36, which is definitely happening. It's just which 2 between Man City, Bournemouth and Palace. If Palace double in 36, for example, Munoz will be on about 6.3 projected points, so really high. O'Reilly would be on 9.6, so big upside there, but I know a lot of you have got him already, but just I want to maintain that point about having extra transfers in the bank to really attack the Palace double game week if it looks worth it. If it goes into 36, I think it's worth spending a transfer or 2 to buy a couple of Palace players, but if it goes into 37, it's less appealing. Sunderland face already relegated Wolves away, so Alderete, Mukiele, Ballard, etc. perfectly good to start this game week. We are at a point in the season, however, where it is worth factoring in team motivations, who's got something left to play for? Like, who's firmly mid-table with Europe out of reach and relegation out of reach as well? You know, who's got lower motivation levels? Forest are fighting for their lives. I mean, just last match, we saw Sunderland suffer their joint worst home defeat ever in their history. We know how good Sunderland have been in home games this season, so that's a perfect example and a recent one. So looking at the table, the Champions League spots look relatively safe now for Villa, Liverpool, Man United. They're all 8 points clear of the rest. But then below them, the teams still fighting for Europe are Brighton, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Brentford, Fulham, Everton. I mean, technically Sunderland's still in that fight as well, so obviously it's more nuanced than just a team totally on the beach or not. But yeah, they did face relegation battling Forest, so perhaps their motivations were just significantly higher. I mean, it's been a crazy season for Sunderland. You almost forget, last season in the Championship, Leeds and Burnley finished on 100 points. Sunderland finished on something like 5 or 6 losses in a row. They actually were 24 points behind Leeds and Burnley coming up. But they've ended up being the best too. Burnley's ended up the worst of the 3 coming up. And Leeds in second place, I guess, if we were to rank the promoted teams. But yeah, the opposite end, it's all to play for Spurs, West Ham and Forest in particular. I'm looking at Bowen for Gameweek 38 because they've got Leeds home to finish the season. And obviously at the very top, the battle for the title is still in the balance as well for Arsenal and Man City. Moving on to the midfielders, and it's actually Bruno topping the table, playing Liverpool at Old Trafford. And then it's Tavernier and Palmer tied in second, followed by Rice, Cherki, Stack, Enzo and Semenyo. A few players back from injury in the FA Cup semi-final for Chelsea, and Leeds actually. Palmer and João Pedro were both back in the squad. João Pedro started, Palmer made the bench. And Stack was also back in the team for Leeds, and he made the bench and came on. So he's straight back on the table this week. Okafor is worth a mention as well, given he's got a 14 and a 15 pointer in his last 3 games, and it is Burnley home next. He's only 5.5 mil as well. All things considered, I think I'd give Stack the edge for the all-round game, like the free kicks, the DEFCON potential, better minutes. I mean, it's not mattered for Okafor recently, but generally speaking, the early subs can be an issue longer term. You know, recently his minutes are 63, 66 and 73 in the league. He got 74 in the cup. So it looks fine to keep Palmer having made the bench, and there is another 8 days from that game to their Gameweek 35 fixture as well, so should be fully over the injury if he's not already. They play on Monday in Gameweek 35. Cherki versus Semenyo is currently favouring Cherki currently for sure, despite being 1.8 mil cheaper as well, and he's ahead on projected points this week and the rest of the season. I mean, Semenyo was the one consistently delivering the returns for a while after he joined City, but yeah, as of late it's been Cherki's turn. I mean, don't forget that can flip any time, so I wouldn't do a transfer like Semenyo to Cherki. On the wildcard, however, yeah, Cherki's just a great way to free up a lot of money over Semenyo, and as it stands, ahead on the projections, and that 1.8 mil will go a long way on the wildcard. There's just one player who's back from injury as well, who could be the ultimate differential, Bruno G. Who remembers Gameweek 19 to 22, where he produced 3 double-digit returns in a row? He's produced a few more early in the season before that. He's back from injury now, 15 goal involvements this season and 23 starts. And Newcastle's fixture is actually pretty great for the final 4. I know Newcastle have been pretty hopeless, but they've sorely missed him and he's just about back to full strength now. They've got Brighton home next, then it's Forest away, West Ham home, Fulham away. He's 6.8 mil and he just misses out making the table this week on 4.6 points. And Wilson, after this week as well, is right up there among the best mids. Of course, you don't buy this week away versus Arsenal, but he is worth a mention. One to keep at the back of your head, or particularly this week if you're on a wild card. Fulham's final 3 games are Bournemouth home, Wolves away, and Newcastle home, so he's startable in all 3 there. It feels like jury's out on any Palace attackers. I mean, Sarr was the most promising one, but recently a few benchings, so I feel like he's a major risk for the double game week. Does he really start both? Definitely. Maybe he's, if it ends up being double game week 36, he starts against Everton and not against City, so maybe that's not the end of the world because the Everton home game is the better one of the 2 anyway. So, I don't know, Wharton's not the most inspiring pick either, is he? So, realistically, it might just be the defenders that are the best way to go about it and just ignore the attackers entirely and not get baited into the double. Unless one of Mateta or Strand Larsen gets an injury, then a striker works as well. Munoz, Decra and Henderson would be my ranking for the top 3. I'm finishing up with the forwards quickly, and it is Haaland who's top of all players across all positions this week, 6.4. Bruno was on 6.0. Haaland's got Everton away next. And then it's Calvert-Lewin and Thiago. They're actually dead even for 35. Thiago is ahead for the final 4 game weeks though, so on a wild card, Haaland and Thiago could be the perfect pairing. That looks really strong. Though if you do still need to bench boost as well, then you might want to include DCL as the third forward there. Brentford are facing West Ham next, which of course could be a tough matchup, considering that point on both teams' motivations for the run-in. You know, Brentford have got a serious shot of playing in the Europa League next season, but West Ham have got a serious shot of playing the Championship, and they've still got to play Arsenal as well. And then to finish up, a new thing we're doing with these videos is the Team of the Week by factoring in those projected points. And the Team of the Week for Gameweek 35 is Darlow, Bogle, Gabriel Senesi, Bruno, Palmer, Rice, Tavernier, Calvert-Lewin, Haaland and Thiago. On the bench we've got Dubravka, Cherki, Odorete and Heaven. How many players have you got from the team? As always, if you want to access the Team of the Week, it's on the FPL Focal app and FPL page. What are your transfer plans this week? Drop a comment below. I wish you the best of luck as well on the Monday night fixture if you've got anyone left to play still. See you soon for the next one.